Raise your hands if you can't hear me, but I am truly, truly honored to be inducted into this Hall of Fame and join the folks that I'm meeting tonight, some of which I have already known, and also the rest of the 149 that I'd like to go let's get to know a lot more about. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. I want to particularly thank the multiple organizations and the volunteers whose collaboration, time, and effort, many of which you've seen here, to establish, maintain the Hall of Fame and this event to empower women. I'm all about empowering women. Except for Nancy, I feel like I'm one of the few scientists here and it's feeling a little lonely. But since my career path in medicine deviated considerably from traditional medical practice and frankly careers in general for women, I'll try to give you a short synopsis. You already had heard the bottom lines already from the speaker here. But I'd like to just tell you sort of a little bit who I am, how I got where I got, and what I've been having a great time with, well, in Alaska. And I have been here, living here since over 40 years now. I'm a little bit older than that. But if there has been success, I attribute it largely to serendipity, being in the right place at the right time, but mostly being fortunate to find and work with many amazing colleagues whom I consider the worker bees, and many are here tonight. I was literally threatened almost with my life to talk about others rather than myself. So I came up with an idea, because everybody knows how stubborn I am, and stealing from the Oscars, could we have the envelope exposed, please? I did not mention them, but I know all of you are going to run up and read the list, and I hope everybody can see. Okay, now, two things.
If you're going to walk around, you got to talk.
Okay. Two things. I'm usually told I'm too loud. Two things. They are in alphabetic order. They are all marvelous. There are a few men on there, and so there are some good guys, and I've had the privilege to work with. No offense to others in the audience. As a child, I knew my forte was math and science. And for reasons even I don't know now, when asked as a kid what I wanted to be, I just said, doctor. Don't know where it came from. From fourth grade on, my family took me seriously and made sure I had the support and education I needed to achieve this goal. The details are goringly boring in my bio. I was too naive at the time to realize that maybe the path was not the norm for women of my day, and maybe even could be long and maybe a bit tough. But I always just put the blinders on and went forward. After internship, I ended up in Rochester, Minnesota, which became very important for the career. I had a second child 15 months after the first, worked part-time as a research associate at the Mayo Clinic in the Department of Epidemiology and Genetics. And then I drove 3 times a week, 90 miles, to complete a master's degree in public health, the infamous MPH. Epidemiology is the branch of medical science that studies the occurrence and distribution of populations, with, of course, the goal to eventual control of the conditions under study. Think medical detective. If you think that sounds boring, just think as a medical detective. You're figuring out what's going on, what happens, why, and what can we do about it. And but while in Rochester, it definitely turned my little mind away from clinical medicine and to preventive medicine. Mayo did not have a residency in preventive medicine at that time. They had every other specialty. But my friends and advisors there offered me a job that was terribly useful to me in the future and recommended I obtain the master's in public health. Eventually you get board certified in preventive medicine, and I'm very excited about preventive medicine in case you don't realize that. It was the Vietnam era, dating me, and the full fulfillment of the military draft for men at the time influenced our move to Alaska, assignment to the United States Public Health Service, a uniformed service, and specifically to the Alaska Native Medical Center. I've worked in Alaska with Native health organizations, both when the work was federal and also now tribal, and I've been there since and still hanging around a little bit working on one grant with a very special person who's here. I've been touted as having, well, I played multiple roles, again, both federal and tribal employee, general medical officer, epidemiologist, and then I've supposedly obtained a few firsts. One was the first director of the Alaska Native Epidemiology Center, the first female, careful, you have to say that, the first female director of the Centers for Disease Control field station here, which has had multiple names over the years, but it is here in Anchorage, and I was privileged to work there. And then the first director of, again, a new entity, the Office of Alaska Native Health Research. The cornerstone of EPI is disease registries. And so in 1970, there were lots of questions about what was going on with cancer, particularly among Alaska Natives. Everybody who had worked elsewhere was saying, geez, we're seeing a lot of this. What's going on with that? So we started to develop it in 1970. It's still in existence, still funded by the National Cancer Institute, thanks very much. And recently completed a 45-year report, which will go on sale after my talk. And there are a few words in it, but mostly it's just tables and bar charts and line graphs, and oh, we love this stuff. Okay. My career has been interesting, challenging, and rewarding in many ways. I want to thank those who have journeyed with me and continue the work against no list. In retrospect, I was not aware over the years that my career was unusual for a woman. It took me a long time to figure that out. But if I've been a role model, I'm delighted and would encourage young women towards careers and in public health, and I hope these folks down here are hearing this. Okay. In closing, I wish to mention I was fortunate to balance career with family and motherhood, and I'm most proud of that career, and I'm even more proud of my children and grandchildren. Again, I thank all colleagues, families, and friends who have taken the journey with me, and I'm absolutely overwhelmed by the number of folks who have come in my honor tonight. Thank you very much.